So today we've got an extremely fun video today. We're going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of two of Fuji's latest cameras. We've got the Fujifilm GFX 100S and the Fujifilm Xh2S, and we're going to take both of these cameras out and do a little bit of a side-by-side comparison to see, one, what these cameras are about, and two, who they are for. Now, before we go outside and give these two cameras an on-field test, we're just going to quickly go over what these two cameras are about, as I'm sure you know a lot about them, but I'm just going to give you my favorite highlights for both of these cameras. Starting with the GFX 100S. The GFX 100S is a medium format camera, or a large format camera, as some of you might like to refer it to as, with a massive 102 megapixel beer-sized CMOS sensor, combined with an X processor 4. With the combination of the large format sensor and X processor 4, the GFX 100S opens a lot of room for high resolution imagery. First of all, it has a 16-bit color depth for RAW files and a wide dynamic range. If you're in the professional space, the GFX 100S makes a lot of sense, in the sense of being able to print large formats as well. Whether it be billboards, magazines, or large format prints, GFX 100S provides those high resolution files and depth that is required for high resolution printing. If you work in a studio as well, whether it be food photography, portraits, or if you're out on the field shooting landscapes, the files that you get from the 100S are really sophisticated and you have a lot of room to work with in post as well. On the flip side, we have the Fujifilm Xh2S. On the inside, it's got a 26.1 megapixel APS-C beer-sized stack sensor, combined with Fuji's latest X processor 5. So the Xh2S is more suited for the on-the-go professional. If you are an event photographer or wedding photographer or do video in both of those fields, the Xh2S's faster autofocus speeds, as well as processing time, as well as shooting speeds too, benefits a lot for those fields. If you're an enthusiast and you're looking to do a lot of landscape work or portrait work, or you're just a general photographer that's out on the field or video person, its stack sensor has a lot of potential for wide dynamic range and low light photography and video work as well. Now, in comparison to the GFX 100S, the 26.1 megapixel sensor in the Xh2S is still great for professional photography and printing. If you are an online content creator and love to share your content quick and fast with your followers, the Xh2S does have friendlier file sizes, so you can quickly get your stuff done, edit it, and get it online super quick. Now let's talk about the video capabilities between both these cameras, as they're quite significant. The GFX 100S does have the potential for great video as well. It shoots 4K up to 30 frames per second with 10-bit 420 color inbuilt, and when outputted externally, you can shoot raw video up to 12-bit, as well as 10-bit 422 color depth as well. It does have an F-log file inbuilt if you do love advanced color grading too, so it does have what you need as the basic elements to get a good professional video rig going. Now, in terms of the Xh2S, it has a larger variety of video capabilities. First of all, you can shoot up to 6.2K. You've got 120 frames per second in 4K as well if you love shooting slow motion, and you've got a lot of file flexibility as well. You can shoot in H.265 video codecs as well as ProRes, and it's just got, I guess, a more friendly form factor as well in terms of weight if you're going to be getting a gimbal as well. The Xh2S benefits more if you're a hardcore videographer. If you're an enthusiast and love the occasional video here and there when you're out on the field, then the GFX 100S suits all of that with its current video package. But if you're a serious videographer, the Xh2S is definitely the better package out of the two, with its file codec flexibility as well as high frame formats and the ability to shoot up to 6.2K. All right, with that all being said, let's take both these cameras out for a spin. Today, for our side-by-side comparison, we've got the GFX 100S with the 32-64 f4 GF lens, and on the Xh2S, we've got the Tamron 17-70 f2.8. We're just going to do a series of landscape and some portrait shots as well, just to see the resolution differences between the two and how the images look. But we're also going to do some on-field tests for some bursts as well. And we're also going to do a little bit of video. One thing to note about the GFX 100S, don't be tripped by its size because it is pretty lightweight. Fuji have done an amazing job with their GFX series as each iteration comes. The S is so compact compared to the 50 and the 100. And it still maintains all the really fundamental features that make the GFX so good. And one of the best things about the 100S is this is probably the most compact and travel friendly out of all the GFX series. You've got a really nice compact body, which honestly isn't that much bigger than the Xh2S. It's got a nice deep grip. You've got basically the same menus that you would expect in any Fuji camera. So if you're coming from a X series camera to a GFX series, it's all going to be very familiar to you. The only thing it's missing is most obviously the ISO dials and the shutter dials, just to keep the form factor a little bit more compact. If you look at the top of the camera, the multifunction display does have the two dials in there. So when you're adjusting your ISO and your shutter, you can refer to that or use your screen. In terms of the button layout between the GFX 100 and the Xh2S, very similar. You've got your joystick, your menu buttons. At the top on the GFX 100S, you do have a button to toggle your face detect as well, which I used earlier to take a portrait. And in terms of switching between video and photo, there's a switch on the GFX 100S at the top here that you can do that between still and movie. On the Xh2S, it's just a simple dial change into movie mode. And the ergonomics, although you are missing those dials that are normally familiar with the Fuji series cameras, it's still a fairly easy camera to use, which is amazing for a large format camera. And let's kick it off with a little landscape photography. Honestly, the photos that you get out of this are no words. They're crazy. If you really do like your landscapes, taking your time, getting your NDs on, or if you're in a studio, you have time to set up your subject perfectly to how you want it, or your food styling. The photos that you get out of the camera are mind-blowing. They're absolutely crazy. You could probably crop these images in so many ways and you still get high resolution stills out of them. Like, even just off this screen, amazing. All right, let's talk about the button ergonomic layout on the Xh2S. Very light. Like, to be honest, the GFX 100S is a pretty light camera, but we've got this paired with the Tamron, which makes it so much lighter. In terms of the features that you get out of this, you get a flippy screen, which is awesome, really good for video as well, especially if you're filming yourself or you're setting up for that group selfie with your friends. You've got that flexibility, but also it's so handy. Like, if we're in this scenario where I'm standing, the camera's lower, I can tilt it to whatever angle I want. I do get that in the GFX 100 as well in terms of the tilting. You can tilt it portrait ways as well as 45 upwards, but you basically get the full range of motion in this type of screen, which is awesome. Ergonomics, you've got everything. ISO button, white balance button, you've got your autofocus on, which I do like the feeling of this one a little bit more. Same menu layout, joystick's really nice. And you have a D-pad as well. On the GFX 100S, it is missing that D-pad. So if you don't know what a D-pad is, very gamer term, but where the menu button lies on the Xh2S, you've got the up, down, left and right. So it's the menu button in the middle. The Xh2S does have one of those, which for me personally, with a lot of cameras that I've used in the past, they've all got a D-pad. So it's very familiar for me to quickly go in and change my menu settings, whereas the 100S will rely more on the touchscreen as well as the joystick. At the end of the day, doesn't make too much of a difference, but it just makes my, I guess, comfortableness a lot easier with the Xh2S when I'm changing my settings in the menu. So we're just doing some side-by-side long exposure shots at the moment. Just on the GFX, image looks amazing. Zoomed in on the screen, resolution is crazy. Like you can go in onto any of these windows or signs in the buildings and you're gonna get a really high resolution crop of it. I'm gonna do the same thing on the X-H2S. Let's see how it goes. My tram has arrived. So my final thoughts on both of these cameras. Fujifilm have pumped out some amazing cameras over the last few years and are continuing the trend with the GFX 100S and the X-H2S. Now the GFX 100S, definitely for the high-end enthusiasts and the professionals. If you have time to set up in a studio or you're out in the field, taking your time shooting a landscape or shooting a portrait with a subject, the GFX 100S has a lot of potential for high resolution imagery. If you love to print your photos as well, they're gonna look amazing with the GFX. Now on the flip side, if you are an event video photographer, then the X-H2S would be a great camera that would benefit you with its fast processing speeds, fast shooting speeds, and amazing autofocus speeds as well. If you are a person that's an enthusiast and you like to travel, then the X-H2S's compact form factor is a lot more beneficial. And finally, if you are a videographer and you love to have the flexibility in terms of frame rates and file codecs and 2 F-log color profiles as well, then the X-H2S is definitely the camera to go for due to its potential in video. Now, if you have any questions on both these cameras, pop them in the comments below or head into our George Street store in Sydney, Australia. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram where we post a lot of updates on what's new as well as any upcoming promotions. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as well and the bell to stay notified with our latest videos as we upload weekly. Take care.